Welcome, everyone. Welcome to today's episode of The Yogi and The Blonde. I'm Nadia,
Hello,
aka The Yogi, and this is
Michelle, aka The Blonde.
Yo, Michelle. It's been a wee while.
It has been a wee while. I've been on my holidays
Yeah, yeah,
for 2 weeks in Argentina, which was fantastic.
yeah. And what's interesting, we're going to be talking about injuries today. And Michelle and I, we were discussing, we had skipped, we were supposed to record this last week, but we had to put a pause on it. And just with discussing things that we went through health-wise last week, we were going through the same thing on the same day, which was quite interesting. Just random, something very, very random. We won't go into details now about it, but it was just really random, wasn't it? It was
It
really, really
was.
random.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
we're just going to leave it to there because it's a bit gnarly.
The
Gnarly one.
mystery. The
Yeah.
mystery.
But on that, when it comes to injuries, first and foremost, what should you do, Michelle?
Yeah, so we wanted to do an episode about injuries because it is something that is very common in
Mm,
our line of work. We see people with injuries all the time. We're doing our best in the gym and in our, I guess, practices to help people to not get injured.
mm,
So we thought it was a good topic because, like I said, often people that we work with are injured. So we thought that we would talk about injuries and I guess kind of how best to deal with them because we've seen it all.
mm.
Um, and
And
really the first
experienced it.
thing and experienced it. Touch wood, I haven't been injured in a wee while, despite having a standing appointment with my physio once a month. Nadia has
Insane.
had a big injury, which we'll come to.
But in saying that, though, it's when you get an injury, first and foremost, I know a lot of people, they don't go see a physio. They don't go see a doctor to maybe get a referral for a physio. Anything like that. And that's what you should do. A lot of people kind of push it off to the side. And then when it comes to the long term, they actually have, you actually make the injury worse long term
Yeah,
wise,
yeah.
right?
It's interesting. So I go to my physio once a month,
Yep.
and basically it's for that actual reason. My physio told me people wait until they're injured until they see a physio, but
Mm-hmm.
they ignore niggles and things that are happening along the way. And it's often those niggles that then turn into something else. So for me, I just have a standing appointment. I go every 4 weeks and we just kind of check in with how I'm feeling, what's going on, looking at areas where I've previously had injuries. And if I
Yeah.
have any niggles, it's the time for him to kind of work it out, work through my muscles, crack me about a bit, loosen me off. And that's kind of an act of injury prevention.
Nice.
But usually people will go to the physio because they've got an injury, or like you said, they won't go to a professional.
Yeah.
And so I guess that's our first piece of advice.
Is
Please
go
go and
and
see a
see a
professional.
professional. Yes,
See a
yes, yes,
professional
yes,
in the
yes.
same way that
And
you would
rather,
go to the doctor if you had an eye infection. Please go see a professional about your shoulder pain or your hip pain or your back pain. Like, please go and see somebody.
there's a rhyme and a reason for everything, right? And our body's really, really intelligent, and it'll tell you when something is out of balance. But this is where we need to learn and go, okay, I need help with this, rather than just having ego being there and you just drive through that pain.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's interesting, and that's just not just injuries, but when the body's not working fully functionally, or you think that something is normal. I always get headaches, but you shouldn't be getting headaches because that's your body telling you something's out of balance. So it's
Yeah.
that same thing. So it's been over a year now. I was in January 2023. I was on the leg press and incline leg press, and I had 160 kgs on there, and I went really deep because I am flexible and I let
Because I
ego.
can.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, it was ego that seeped in and going,
Mm,
because I'm flexible, I can push this way, rather than going thinking about the mechanicals. It doesn't matter if you're flexible or not, but just how the mechanicals and how you come into a tucked, an anterior or posterior tuck when you're in a deep squat like that, and how much pressure that puts onto your discs, actually. So it has nothing to do with mobility. Sometimes it's just the mechanics of your body and that much bloody weight. And
mm-hmm.
so, and I didn't feel, I felt it when I was started doing some walking lunges, because I was like, oh, okay, that feels a bit weird. And when I was starting walking lunges, I was like, ow, that really hurts, especially on one side. And so, I worked on it on my own for a little bit, but then it wasn't improving. So I went and seen my physio. We were doing acupuncture. My body tends to do quite well with acupuncture. And then about a month after that, it just got worse. Like I couldn't even sit down. I couldn't stand. I was like in so much pain. It was making me cry. Where I ended up going to the hospital. Anyways, long story short, that came out to a small tear and bulge disc. And this is something that's going to take over 2 years to heal. And being mindful of how I move my body is really, really important. And working through little exercises that help with that as well. So, it's about creating that consistency and doing little things. It's not having to do like I've got to do a massive workout every day, but if as long as I'm doing those movements to keep that the mobility and the strength, a bit of mixture, is going to make a big, big difference. Now, I'm going to jump to a client of mine who's also had some back injuries, and it's that whole thing of the core and the lower back not being strong. And what was really interesting with him is that he is, as soon as his back would start feeling better, he'd stop everything.
So common.
And
So
then
common.
and it's funny because then about 3 4 weeks later he'd be like, oh, my back's being twingy again. And I'm like, well, have you been keeping up with what we've given you, the physio's given you, and have been working with you on that physio and giving you those little exercises to do and those mobility things? He's like, no, because it was feeling better. I'm like, that's the thing, you got to keep working on it.
Yes.
It's not something that's going to be over coming around with that as well.
Yeah. Yeah. That's so true. So many people go to the physio in pain,
Mm.
and
They
their
want the magic
immediate
pill.
desire is to get out of pain. Of course it is. Nobody wants to be in pain. So of course you want to get out of pain. So you're quite motivated to do the exercises that have been given to you. But then as soon as the pain has subsided and you can kind of live freely and normally again, that's when it stops. And maybe that's a communication issue. Maybe um, there's an understanding that you just need to do your exercises to get you out of pain. Whereas actually, I think a lot of the exercises that are prescribed is
Yeah.
usually because there's some sort of weakness, which is what led to the injury. And
Yeah.
so getting out of pain is one thing, but then actually future proofing the area to be injury free again is the bit I think that people miss.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Because then they tend to just use the. Oh, they just when I'm in pain, I do that. When I'm in pain, I
Yeah,
do that. But it's rather
yeah,
than a maintenance thing of keeping
yeah.
that up.
How can I not get into pain in the
Yeah.
first place?
Yeah, 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 yeah. Totally, totally,
Yeah.
totally, totally. And it's just keeping that like for myself, because I working in Maria, I do help in other departments, and I was helping out in housekeeping, and they were just getting me to make the beds, but that was like that ended up putting massive havoc onto my back, which it tweaked it again. And so I've had to put my foot down on that and saying, no, I can't do that anymore. And so, yeah, but then at that same time, it makes me think of how I move my body. So now we've got a masseuse that is away, and I've been helping with massage only like on the Saturdays when we're peak and they're the busiest and stuff like that. So if the girls are like fully booked, then if I've got some spaces open, they've been open up some space where I would take on some massages. And even doing that, I've been like thinking about not just about the massage itself, but how my body is placed and how I'm moving my body with that, because that's quite a lot of hard work on your body as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So it's just about how we use our bodies from here on in to help
Mm.
keep supporting our injuries and helping them and not babying it. That's the difference, is where you're babying and not utilizing it, because you want to keep utilizing it so you have the mobility and the strength, keeping that strength going through and helping to support it. It's more about the daily, how you use your body, what's your posture like, all of that.
Yeah.
Now, another thing I do want to talk about is when we get injured is I'm going to use yoga as an example, because a lot of people think that they've got to fit their body into yoga. They've got to fit their body into this. Or for example, they're like, they've injured, let's say, their knee. So they're like, I can't do any gym stuff. Well, actually, I've had a client who's injured his knee, and we were focused on upper body stuff and some core stuff that wouldn't put any pressure on the knee. So you can still do a workout. You're not using your lower legs because you're letting that heal and rest, but because you're creating that strength in the upper body, you're still creating that balance. So it's about reframing your mind about what, rather than thinking about what I can't do, it's more of thinking about what can I do. Do you ever come across that, Michelle?
Yeah, all the time. I think, and there's, if you are an active person and you're used to being up and about and you get knocked down by an injury, it can be very easy to, I guess, fall into quite a negative mindset
Yeah.
and think, I can't do what I want to be doing. I can't do the things that I normally do. And kind of a lot of negativity can creep in and it can kind of build up and just put you in a bit of a bad place mentally. So I think that shift of mindset is really important.
Yeah.
My partner is a perfect example. He'll hate me talking about him, but he went through having a run of injuries. So just as he was recovering from something else flared up. So he broke his ankle when he was at work. It was a minor avulsion fracture, so he was able to wear a moon boot, and it was a quick recovery. But while he was in the moon boot, he couldn't go to the gym. And it started out really well. I brought all of my equipment into the house. He was doing workouts sitting down in a chair using his dumbbells. That was great. And then he was using crutches to get around. But the crutches, one of them must have been faulty or it didn't fit his arm properly. He ended up with a really severe case of, I get them mixed up. It was either tennis elbow or golf elbow.
Okay.
So then his tendons in here around his elbow region were bugged up. So his foot healed. Well, no, so then he couldn't do any working out because his foot was broken and his elbow was busted. So he just got into such a neggy place. And then his ankle healed, but his arm, it took like 8 months to heal. So he was getting into quite a negative space because for him, he's a very active person. He likes to train. He likes to look after himself. Fitness is a part of his life. And suddenly it was taken away from him and he really suffered. And it's really hard to tell someone that's going through a tough time mentally, try and focus on what you can do. But really, it's the only thing that you can do. You've got to focus on what can I do, rather than getting really down about what you can't do. And it's easier said than done.
But again, it's having the guidance and the help for that. That's the thing, is, the guidance and the help. And that's what I've noticed when I teach yoga and I get somebody who's like, oh, I can't really do a plank. Maybe they might have a wrist injury. So get them to do a form, or you know what I mean? There's always ways around it. Yeah. And it's actually really allowing you to think outside the box.
100%. Yeah.
Really
How
thinking.
Can I adapt this movement? Is there a different movement that I can do? Or is there a different activity that I can do at this time?
Yeah, and it's how can I do this differently? And yeah, and there's always a way around it. And if it's an upper body thing, then you can do some lower body leg work, right?
Yeah.
There's various things that you can do that's really, there's ways around it where we're like, oh, I can't go to the gym because I've injured my shoulder. Well, if you've had surgery, you need to let the body heal.
Yeah.
That's the thing. We're not saying to jump into the gym right away, but knowing the difference of, okay, it's on the recovery, so I'm able to do something, so I can do this, that, or whatever.
Mm.
So
I think
yeah.
also recognizing that although you have to have patience in terms of
Mm.
allowing your body to heal, it's also recognizing that this is a temporary state. If you do the right things to allow your body to heal, then you will heal and you will get better and you will be able to do the things that you can't do right now. So
Yeah.
I think recognizing it's a temporary state and that you will be able to get back to it at some stage if you do the right things now,
Yeah,
which is
and
quite motivating.
keeping that maintenance on as well.
Mm.
Now, Michelle, let's can you share with us about how nutrition helps with this? What's the nutrition standpoint with healing?
Yeah, so our bodies are amazing.
They are
Our
very
bodies are
intelligent, strong.
magic.
Yeah.
Our bodies can literally fix themselves when they break. You can snap a bone in half, and obviously, medicine helps put it back in place, but your body can literally refuse bones back together that were split, can literally repair tears in your tissues
So how does nutrition help with that?
because this is an energy intensive process. Your bones can fuse back together, but that requires lots of things happening inside your body to make that happen. And those things need energy in
Hmm.
order to happen. So a lot of people, and actually I was just explaining to Nadia before we came on to record, one of my friends was in a car accident when I was away. And she's got a broken foot and she can't put any weight on it. She's also quite injured in her torso. So we're talking about, oh, if your foot's injured, can you do upper body? She intends to, but she can't at this stage because she's healing in her ribs as well as in her foot. Anyway, we were just talking and she's a very active person. And at the moment she can't move around. She has to keep her leg elevated. And she was kind of saying, I don't feel like I'm expending much energy. I'm not walking around. She's used to doing 10,000 steps a day, working out 4 times a week. She said, I feel like I'm not expending any energy. I'm worried about getting fat. And it's like, I know at this time when you're used to being so active and now you go to being very sedentary, said it might, you're probably going to gain some fat and that's okay. Said it's really crucial that you keep fueling yourself. Do not feel tempted to go on a diet because you're not moving around as much. This is a really crucial time though. You need the vitamins and minerals that come
You need to
with
fuel
our
the
more
body.
nutritious food. Your body needs it. You need protein. Protein is a building block. Amino acids are building blocks. We literally
Mhm.
build cells out of protein. So you need to be eating at this time to make sure you're giving your body the fuel it needs in order to repair itself and recover. So nutrition is so important. Eating and giving yourself the energy, but actually focusing on the quality of the food that you're getting as well. We were just laughing because, the classic thing to do when someone's injured is to give them chocolates and cookies and sweets, and that's lovely. And it's like,
Sweet.
oh, yay. But you really want to be focusing on eating good, nutritious food, getting all of your macronutrients in, and getting them from good, healthy sources. So
Yeah.
have your sweets, but
Yeah.
also make sure that you're eating a lot of vegetables, a lot of starchy carbs, a lot of proteins as well. And really fueling your body, make it
Yeah.
as healthy as it can be. And then it's going to be able to efficiently repair your injury. So it's super important. And staying hydrated as well. We love talking about hydration, don't we? And
Yeah,
again,
we do. We
keeping
do.
your
We do.
body hydrated, again, just makes all of these internal processes that are
Because you
happening
might be
inside
on
a lot easier.
You might be on some medication. You might be on some kind of anti-inflammatory, or for myself, I can't do anti-inflammatory, but I've been given like paracetamol with like codeine and stuff. And this
Mm.
can block you up. This can make you constipated. So
Yes.
you want to make sure you are then hydrating your body and eating things that help to move the bowels. Fruit
Keep
is
it
one thing
moving.
that really helps as well.
Yeah.
So just having that stuff is really important.
Yes.
Now, another thing we wanted to just touch base, and I'm going to touch base on, is about the breath. Now, our breath is such a powerful tool. It can make us sick if we are not breathing properly. If something's very challenging or hard, we tend to tense the body and hold the breath. Now, if you're tensing the body, you're creating that tension in the body is creating stress in the body rather than relaxing it. We need to, when we come into a state of repair, we need to tap into the parasympathetic nervous system, and that's your rest and repair nervous system. To do that, we need to make sure we are breathing in and out through the nose, because that's the way that taps into your diaphragm, which then pushes on the vagus nerve, then taps into the parasympathetic and the sympathetic nervous system. Now, to tap into the parasympathetic nervous system, you need to focus on your exhale. So you want to do some long, slow exhales. And also, what helps with recovery is you want your HRV, which is your heart rate variable, to increase. And by doing that, you want to slow down your breath. So you slow down your breath rate, helps to manage your stress. You extend your exhale. So you breathe in for 8, out for breathe in for 4, out for 8. That will extend that will lessen how many breaths you do per minute, but extend your breath. All of this will contribute to tapping into the parasympathetic nervous system, which is really important, and it allows us to heal. And it's that not just the physical, but also the state of mind, because our state of mind, that whole reframing, how we've been thinking of, I can't do this, and we quite get that negative state in our head, can add stress. So your body's stressed because it's trying to repair itself. Then you're adding stress, like psychological stress, by your emotions and your thoughts and stuff. So if you come into just focusing on that breath and breathing and extending the exhale, slowing it down and not forcing it out, will help with recovery. So it's interesting, like sleep, rest, and that helps to with your sleep and your rest. Having good nutrition, good hydration, reframing our thought around it at the beginning is really important. So I think
Basically,
we've
all the
covered
things we
some.
should be doing anyway to live a nice, healthy life.
Yeah, but we should
It's that but
amplify that,
amplified. Yes.
amplify
Yeah.
it during then. But as well, when something stressful happens, we tend to do the
Yeah.
freeze thing, right? And tense up. So it's okay if you do come into that tense freeze thing. That is okay. Not to beat yourself up about that, but to become aware of it and go, okay, acknowledge it. I'm aware of it, observe it, and then come back to your breath, extending the exhale and just being in the moment and just allowing yourself to just give yourself time and space.
Love. Great
So,
advice.
yeah. I've been feeling insightful being here. Remote living. I do a lot of thinking and a lot of processing, and it's great. I love it.
Nice and quiet.
But I think we've like nailed it there pretty well for you guys, and hopefully that is giving you a bit of encouragement for anybody who is going through an injury, or if you know somebody who's going through an injury, or surgery or any of that. These are little things that they can bring into play with that as well. Or if they're unwell, sick, these are also things that you can. It's all connected. It's all about healing, right? It's all about healing the body
100%.
physically, mentally, and emotionally. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think we've gone that, like, the sun's gone behind the mountain now, so I feel like my
It's
room's gotten
time.
really dark. The
The
studio's gone dark. I feel like I've gone really
lights come
dark.
down. We're
Yeah.
done.
Well, I know that being here, like, we won't get as much sun in the winter as we would in the summer.
Mm,
So
yeah.
because we are in a valley around the mountains.
Yes.
So yeah, because it was really bright in here when we first started.
Mm.
Now it's like completely gone. So duly noted, I need my little lights so my face isn't so dark. It's a learning curve, right, Michelle?
Absolutely.
Okay, well, hope you guys enjoyed that and found that helpful. Again, please share this along with anyone else. And don't be afraid to comment, to send in questions, what you like, what was your takeaway from this episode. We'd love to hear from you guys. Otherwise, thank you for joining and supporting us, sending lots of love. Ciao.